So here we are, a new year, new beginning, new resolutions that for some of you may have still lasted. But in starting off, the kids served as an example to me. Did we really learn the lessons of last year? Are we really done with 2015? I just wanted to share this with you very, very briefly in starting out. Hopefully you know this. If you're a kid, you do. Okay. If you're an adult, maybe you didn't really learn it this year. But here are some things that the kids know that we need to remember. When your mom is mad at your dad, don't let her brush your hair. If your sister hits you, don't hit her back. They always catch the second person. Never ask your 3-year-old brother to hold a tomato. You can't trust dogs to watch your food. Don't sneeze when someone is cutting your hair. Puppies still have bad breath, even after eating a Tic Tac. I love this one. Never hold a dustbuster and a cat at the same time. You can't hide a piece of broccoli in a glass of milk. And then finally, the oh shucks one. The best place to be when you're sad is Grandpa's lap. Aw, okay. This May, it will be 35 years since I was ordained a priest, and I'll not. Thank you, I guess. This stole was my ordination stole. This is the one that I had made 35 years ago. And I've been able to use it in all kinds of liturgical seasons, because if I need ordinary time, there's green in there. If I need Lent, there's purple, so it's all good. But the image of the rainbow is something that has always appealed to me, and this was long before, other groups even took and appropriated it as their own. Epiphany is called the Feast of Light. God's light shining on his world. Epiphany means a showing, an awakening. God's love coming into our world as one of us. And not just for a select few, but for everyone. That is the light of God's glory shining in our world. We are children of the light. And sometimes I think we forget the lesson of the prism. Because the prism takes just plain light and shows us, reminds us that it is made up of many different wavelengths. There's a lot of different realities in the light. And again, we don't necessarily view ourselves in terms of we are Gentiles as opposed to Jews or anything like that. But nevertheless, God's gift, God's grace, offered for all. The shepherds represented the Jews. The Magi, the Gentiles. The reason that I remind you of this is I am not looking forward to this year. And the reason that I am not looking forward to this year is because I anticipate 11 months of garbage. We have a presidential election coming up this year. And it just amazes me how much it seems that those who either are the candidates or those who are the pundits in the media try so hard to create fear and separation. And oversimplification. It says in the gospel, when Herod heard of the news of a newborn king, he was greatly troubled. And with him, all of Jerusalem. Well, Jerusalem was not troubled for the same reason that Herod was. Herod was troubled because he had been king for over 30 years. And he had done whatever was necessary to make sure that his power and his position was not threatened, including killing 3 of his sons, a wife, a brother, a mother-in-law. He was ruthless. And I don't mean that because the wife that he killed was named Ruth. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Jerusalem was troubled, not because, oh, we love King Herod so much, and so anything that upsets him upsets us as well. No, Jerusalem was troubled because, oh boy, if Herod's upset again, we're going to pay the price. He's going to take it out on us. He has in the past. He will again. So, what we hear so much of in this story of the Magi is reacting to fear. And we know from farther on in Matthew's gospel how Herod reacted to that fear. He was so intent on destroying any perceived challenge to him that he had no difficulty whatsoever ordering the slaughter of tens and hundreds of little boys. What a jerk. But that fear can be a powerful motivator. And when people live in fear, then they tend to react negatively. When people live in fear, the best that is inside them doesn't always come out. As we come into 2016, there's a lot that our world has experienced in just a very short amount of time. And it is unsettling. And we do at times feel helpless. But for us to react to those feelings by giving in to anger or hatred, that doesn't lift anybody up. That doesn't let the light shine in. I've had so many people recently in confession that have come in and confessed that when they watch the news, when they read the newspaper, they find themselves getting so angry, so frustrated. Well, the answer isn't to give in to that. The answer isn't to abandon our best principles. What I tell people is, if you are going to read the newspaper, if you are going to watch the evening news, great, but make sure that you are seeing that as a time of prayer. So that you remember that the evil is not the final word. That we cannot let the evil close us up. Make us fearful and narrow-minded and divisive. It is the light of God shining that allows us to celebrate the fact that we're not all the same. And that not everybody who is unlike us is automatically bad or wrong or a threat. We're children of the light. We're better than that. Unless we forget and give in to the fear. So this year, let it be a time of Yes, being informed, but always being inspired as well. Never letting us being people who forget the light. We have to stay open. We have to. Because we're children of the light. And the light is glorious. Even in all its different colors. Under a cultural exchange program, Alan Abramsky and his family in Roanoke, Texas, were hosts to a rabbi from Russia at Christmas time. They decided to introduce him to a culinary treat that was probably not available in his country. So they took him to their favorite Chinese restaurant. Throughout the meal, the rabbi spoke excitedly about the wonders of North America compared to the bleak conditions in his homeland. When they had finished eating, the waiter brought the check and presented each of them with a small brass Christmas tree ornament as a seasonal gift. They all laughed when Abramsky's father pointed out that the ornaments were stamped "Made in India." But the laughter subsided when they saw that the rabbi was quietly crying. Concerned, Abramsky's father asked the rabbi if he was offended because he'd been given a gift for a Christian holiday. But the rabbi smiled, shook his head, and said, "Niet. I was shedding tears of joy to be in a wonderful country in which a Buddhist gives a Jew a Christmas gift made by a Hindu." There's beauty and glory in the light of God. May 2016 be a year in which we let the light shine brightly. There is a very ancient tradition in the church that after the homily on the Feast of the Epiphany, this was, goes back to long before when people had calendars and iPads and all of that. The dates of the great feasts would be announced to the people. And we're reminded with this now that all of our great feasts upcoming have to do primarily with where Easter is. Dear brothers and sisters, the glory of the Lord has shone upon us and shall ever be manifest among us until the day of his return. Through the rhythms of times and seasons, let us celebrate the mysteries of salvation. Let us recall the year's culmination, the Easter Triduum of the Lord, his Last Supper, his crucifixion, his burial, and his rising, celebrated between the evening of the 24th day of March and the evening of the 26th day of March, Easter Sunday being on the 27th day of March. Each Easter, as on each Sunday, the Holy Church makes present the great and saving deed by which Christ has forever conquered sin and death. From Easter are reckoned all the days we keep holy. Ash Wednesday, the beginning of Lent, will occur on the 10th day of February. The Ascension of the Lord will be commemorated on Sunday, the 8th day of May. Pentecost, our joyful conclusion of the season of Easter, will be celebrated on the 15th day of May. And this year, the first Sunday of Advent will be on the 27th day of November. Likewise, the Pilgrim Church proclaims the Passover of Christ in the feasts of the Holy Mother of God, in the feasts of the apostles and saints, and in the commemoration of the faithful departed. To Jesus Christ, who was, who is, and who is to come, Lord of time and history, be endless praise forever and ever. And let the church say,